What's up, you guys? This is my second time recording this video due to some technical difficulties, but this video is about this post right here that I posted yesterday on Instagram, and it's basically breaking down the 4 most popular different dieting styles. Now, there are more than 4 styles. There's intermittent fasting, there's the keto, there's the whatever dough. There's a lot of diets out there, but these are the top 4 popular ones, which are counting your macros, flexible dieting, clean eating, and of course the OG of just eating in a caloric deficit and counting your calories in general. First of all, I want to say this video is mainly for those who are beginning to lift, and the advice that I'm giving you today is the advice that I wish I would have heard in the beginning, and also the advice that I do give to people I know who are just starting their weight loss journeys. Alright, so whenever someone I know wants to lose body fat, the first thing I recommend is to just master being in a deficit. So counting overall calories. Don't worry about the protein, fats, and carbs right now. I just want you to count your calories and make sure you're in a deficit. And then once that becomes a habit with weighing your foods and tracking everything on a certain app, or if you like to handwrite it, you can do that. But I use MyFitnessPal, it's free. And just track that. Make sure you're between a 400 to 500 calorie deficit. And also take into consideration that the more weight you have to lose, the easier it is to lose. And then for me, when I become within 5 to 10 pounds of my goal weight, that's usually the hardest pounds to lose. But at the beginning of the fitness journey, the pounds just seem to come off like nothing. And mostly it's because the pounds that are coming off is water weight. Alright, so after one has mastered just counting calories in general and losing weight that way, I highly recommend, as soon as you can, to try and switch over to flexible dieting. And with flexible dieting, what I recommend is at least 0.82 grams of protein per pound of lean mass. So if you're morbidly obese, like 50 to 60 pounds overweight, try to calculate your lean mass of that weight and use that as the staple for how you're going to calculate your protein intake. So the minimum is about 0.82 times however many pounds of lean mass you have on your body. And the most I would do up from 0.82 is 1 gram to 1.1 grams of protein per lean body mass. But 0.82 is way more than enough. And once you calculate what you're going to fill in for the protein, so 0.82 times your lean mass, and that would be the amount of grams of protein you're going to ingest, what I would do from there is fill in the rest of the calories with your carbs and fats. So don't worry about hitting a certain amount of grams of fats or carbs. Instead, worry about hitting ranges of carbs or fat. So instead of being like, I'm only going to hit 30 grams of fat, be like, I'm going to hit between 30 to 50 grams of fat and then so and so grams of carbs. Now, these ranges are going to change depending on your overall caloric intake of the day, because you still want to make sure that you're in a deficit. So if you were counting calories and you being in a deficit was around 1,600 calories, those calories still need to be on point when you're flexible dieting, with the exception of you counting your protein intake. Now, the advantages of you counting your protein intake at the least is it makes for a better body composition. When your body has the nutrients and the amount of macros it needs for its protein, it can then, if you're a newbie lifter and new at this weight loss journey thing, a lot of that fat will become muscle. So you just will look better. So ever since I've kind of been watching my protein intake at the minimum or at the least, even in this lean bulk season, I just been making sure I hit my proteins and filling the rest in with carbs and fats. My body composition is way better than when I was kind of just not being aware of my protein intake and just eating whatever. Because the average American diet is consisted of more carbs and fats than anything else. If you go ahead and just start plugging in what you eat on average during the day, a lot of the times most people won't even hit 40 to 50 grams of protein, when in fact for me, I need around 80 to 90 grams of protein at the minimum. All right, and just because I need to talk about this, because I have tried bro dieting or clean eating in the beginning of my fitness journey. I did do calorie counting first and then later switch over to clean eating, and this was when there wasn't a lot of information out there on YouTube, on the internet in general, about flexible dieting. I doubt it was even out there yet. So the only sources I could look to was like Barnes & Noble or whatever bookstore, and I bought a book on bodybuilding, and it kind of didn't really give macros. It just gave a list of food groups, and it gave meal plans, and then it also had some recipes in there. So I would kind of eat the same thing over and over again, and it would say like, eat breakfast and try to eat this many grams of egg whites, for example, and then for a snack, try to eat these types of snacks from this list with protein added, and then lunch, make sure you have protein. So the book basically just told me to have protein in every meal and have 6 meals a day, but I still found that I didn't get the results that I wanted. And in fact, now that I am flexible dieting and kind of just hitting my macros intuitively, I look way better than I did when I was clean eating and only eating from a certain food group. So like, for example, I would eat, I believe, egg / oatmeal pancakes, like egg white oatmeal pancakes, and then I would have some kind of a little protein bar for a snack, and then I would have my lunch, which would be usually like some kind of protein source, vegetable, and some carbs, and then I'd have another snack, and then for dinner I'd have like turkey meatballs with some veggies and another carb source, and then another snack or dessert. So yeah, no macros at all, and I was kind of going about it blindly, and I did not get the results that I want. But if you're clean eating, of course the advantages are you're eating foods that are not processed, and they're usually whole foods. But the cons to just clean eating is you're not hitting your macros. But as long as you're still in a caloric deficit, you will lose weight. Now that weight may be muscle mass, it may be fat. The pounds are going down on the scale, but it's not the type of weight you probably want to lose. Now I'm going to talk about the most advanced way of losing weight very efficiently, but it can be taxing for the average person with the average job, with the average goals, who are not looking to competing. Maybe you just want to lose 20 to 25 pounds. Counting macros in general to the T isn't for everybody, and it's also not sustainable in the long run, because you're constantly having to carry a food scale around. You're constantly very, hard on yourself as far as counting your macros, and at a certain point your friends and family will be making fun of you, because that was me during my first cut when I got the leanest I ever been. I counted macros, I had a coach, and it was pretty strict. So for example, say I had 125 grams of protein to hit. I'd have to hit that within 5 grams. So if I wasn't at 125, I'd have to be at 120. So within 5 grams of that goal, or 130. So up or down. And then for carbs, it'd be the same way. Say my carbs, actually during that cut, the lowest my carbs were was 125 grams of carbs. So I'd have to hit between 120 and 130 grams of carbs. And then for fats, I believe my fats at that time was around either 40, I think it was 40 grams of fats at the lowest, when my macros were the lowest. so that I have to hit within 2 grams of fats, because 1 gram of fat is way more calories than 1 gram of carb. So yeah, it was pretty hard. I'd constantly have to pre-plan the day on my FitnessPal. If I was going to go out to eat, I'd have to plan that meal out, and that meal would basically control what I ate for breakfast, lunch, and whatever until I got to dinner. So it was really hard, and it's not for everybody. If you just have the goal of losing weight, definitely would recommend flexible dieting with a looser approach on counting your fats and carbs, but hitting your proteins, then having exact macros. Because honestly, as long as you're hitting your protein intake and you're in a deficit, you will hit your goals. I would say the only thing about flexible dieting is make sure that your fats are not exceeding. Usually I'd have my fats between 25 to 35% of my overall caloric intake. So yeah, just don't go too over fats, because that could raise your cholesterol if you're eating 90% of whatever's left over on your macros on fats and barely any carbs. It's not good for you. So just watch out for that. But other than that, yeah, those are the phases of which I would recommend a beginner to start the fitness journey. So to recap, just in case I've lost you, the first thing I'd recommend is counting your calories in general, weighing your foods, making sure you're looking at the nutrition label and reading it carefully, because a lot of times you would think, oh, these calories are for the whole bag, but it would actually say half a bag, a fourth a bag, X amount of grams. So watch out for that, and cut down on your liquid calories if you are drinking full sugar juices, sodas, stuff like that. Little things like that make a huge difference. And of course, just tracking everything, make sure you're weighing everything, make sure you're not cheating yourself out by not counting those calories, because every little calorie or phantom calories that you don't account for adds up quick. So you may not be getting the results you want because you're not, measuring that extra little thing of oil or salad dressing or condiments, stuff like that. Those calories can sneak in quick. So after you've mastered counting your calories, go ahead and switch over to the flexible dieting approach. And then after that, if you want to be way advanced, you can go to switching over to macros. So yeah, that is what I'd recommend for a beginner to slowly transition to counting your macros or flexible dieting. I hope this video was useful to you. If it was, please give it a like. Please comment down below where you are in your fitness journey and what your goals are for the new year, because it is coming. Also, if you're interested in online coaching, I provide one-on-one online coaching with me, and be able to have weekly check-ins, customized macros, customized cardio plans, etc. And yeah, that's about it. And I'll see you guys on the next one.